Well, I'm going to open the meeting for the October 17th meeting of the Wakefield Conservation Commission. We'll take roll call. Ken.
Here.
Haley.
Here.
Paul.
I'm here.
Jim, I do not see yet. And Peter, I do not see yet either. We'll start though. First up is the approval of the minutes for October 3rd. Any questions or comments about those minutes or corrections? Hearing none. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes for October 3rd?
I'll move that.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Ken?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
And I also approve those minutes. All right, one announcement. We do have a continuation. 60 Farm Street, DEP 313. 632 is being continued at the applicant's request. I do see Aaron here. Aaron, was that just to make that same announcement?
Yep. In case anything came up, I'm just here to pass that request along in person, virtually.
No problem. You're free to stay or free to enjoy the rest of the night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aaron. All right, Jimmy's here. And I don't see Peter yet. All right, first up is DEP 313-6330 Patriot Circle. It's a public hearing notice of intent continued for the construction of a single-family dwelling within a buffer to bordering vegetated wetlands, and I do see Paul. Hello, Paul. Oh, you're muted.
Okay, there we go.
That's better.
There we go. Good evening. Paul Finocchio with PJF and Associates on behalf here with Steve Leppo, who's the applicant for the property at 0 Patriot Circle. We did submit in a landscaping plan and also an updated site plan. So if you want me, I can share the screen and hopefully this will work.
Yeah, please do, Paul.
Share screen. Landscape plan. I'm assuming you can see the.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, good. So we had James Emmanuel work on a site plan, on the landscaping plan. So we've added plantings along the proposed retaining wall. And those run all the way around. That'll be basically a 4-foot landscaping area running along the perimeter of the wall. And also along out in front of the house. And he did put a planting schedule on the plan, which is up in the upper corner of the property, telling the types of plants being put in. We also reduced the patio area. And we also, that patio will be picked up by a small little patio drain, which will connect into the drainage system. And there is enough capacity for the entire patio as was on the original plan. And those are the major changes to the plan.
Paul, I just quickly saw the landscape plan. Were those all native species? I didn't have a chance to run through them.
He has, I'll go by the common name, the northern berry, sweet pepper, dark American arborvitae, sheep laurel, high bush blueberry, shamrock, inkberry, and winterberry. So I believe those are all native species.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Uh,
And most of those large ones along the wall are arborvitae, Paul?
Yes,
Okay,
I
that's
believe
what I
so.
gathered, just looking at the quantities.
I believe
Yeah,
that's.
the large
all
ones,
last one, right?
sorry, the large ones are the dark American arborvitae.
Right,
That's these here.
there's a dozen.
I think that's all we had asked for. Is that right?
We
Yeah.
did that, and we also, like I said, we reduced the patio size.
Right.
We also put in a patio drain, and that'll connect into the drainage system.
Okay, great. Is that a bulkhead shown? To
Yes,
the-
right here.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Any questions from the commission?
It looks like the patio layout might be a little different between the landscaping plans and your proposed site plan.
Let me
Give
take
you a heads up on that.
okay, if that, because one got submitted in before the other, and I probably didn't change. It might be the landscaping plan was amended to change the because I think my plan comes from this corner of the house and
Right.
down.
Yeah.
And this one comes from here, probably this one here will be the one, but
Okay.
again, it still handles. Basically, the drainage system handles what we had on previously for the entire patio system.
Okay.
Which was basically carrying all the way up to this corner of the house, so. I can amend to match this plan. But that shouldn't affect anything.
So Paul, the entire roof runoff is going to make its way to the
Yes.
chambers?
Yes, yes. Yes, we have the downspouts that will run all the way around on the perimeter of the house and tie into the system.
So you probably need to pipe some underground, I would imagine, right?
Oh, yeah, it's all underground.
Yeah. Right, any other questions from the commission? Any questions from the public? Would somebody like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
It's Peter, I'll make motion.
Is there a second?
Sorry.
You have a
Yeah,
few
hi,
hands raised.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't see those hands. I don't know who's first. Paul, could you go first, I guess?
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, my name is Paul DeSanto. I live at 25 Heritage Lane. First and foremost, I'd like to say we're happy to have a new neighbor. And it looks like it's a beautiful plan and the property. We just had a couple questions. One in regarding to the landscaping impacts. Are there any impacts to the current trees around on our property or within our property?
No. All the work is being on site of this, it is an existing retaining wall that runs along here, and then we'll be extending that down then along the perimeter of the property, so we're not going on anyone on the abutter's property at all.
And second, in general, we've been dealing with a lot of water in our backyard this summer, and just wanted to understand any impact in regards to the slope of the retaining wall into the drainage channel in our backyard. Also curious if the perk test was done for the infiltration system when that was done, because this summer's been pretty wet and our backyard is pretty muddy.
We used the soil test actually when the original subdivision was done. We had perk tests from the entire subdivision that we used along with soils analysis. And so we're actually taking the water from the proposed building and putting that into a drainage system. So there's no net increase of water running from the site off-site.
So you're saying there will be no implications to the drainage
Correct. Yes, I'm saying there's gonna be no.
essentially in our
yes.
backyard.
There's no net increase from this site as we're picking up, it's a vacant lot. We're picking up the entire roof area and the patio and putting it into our drainage system. And that's designed to handle a 100-year event.
So Paul, he's recharging the roof runoff and the patio runoff into that subsurface
Correct,
system.
yes,
If anything, that would actually be a better situation. You wouldn't have any flow across the lot that would be happening now would be minimized because it'd be
correct.
plumbed directly, plumbed directly into the ground, into the
Correct.
subsurface system.
Correct, also
Right.
with the retaining wall there too.
Yeah.
So any water was flowing, because basically all this water does flow down into this area right in here.
Mr. DeSanto, are you the next house over to him?
I'm behind on the other side of the wetland.
Oh, you're on the other side.
He's over here,
Oh,
I
okay.
believe.
Yeah, what's going there will eventually get there. But again, what he's proposing here is to infiltrate all the water coming off the roof in that patio area directly into that subsurface system instead of letting it flow across the lot. And that system is designed to handle a 100-year storm. Paul, are you all set? All right, his hand's down.
Yep, I think that answers our questions. Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. Steve, I see your hand raised. Identify your address, self and address for the record, please. Steve? Steve? Your hand is raised still? You have a question? He's not muted, so I'm not sure. Might be having technical difficulties.
Oh, come on.
Steve, I hear you now.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, thanks. Sorry about that. Yeah, so sorry about that. My name's Steve Molis. I'm at 26 Houston Street, which I believe, if I'm looking at this correctly, would be at the bottom of the page that's on screen right now.
Okay.
And I kind of, and again, to echo Peter's comments, welcome to have a neighbor. Steve's dad in the next unit down on Patriot has just been a fantastic neighbor. And really my only questions were pretty much along the same lines. We live essentially downhill from the lot, and it looks like there are plans in place to mitigate water runoff, because like Pete, we've been noticing in the past year especially that the aquifer, or whatever you want to call it, has been getting higher. I mean, there's water flowing into the creek from places that haven't been wet in the 13 years that we've been living there. But it looks like there's a plan in place to address that. Am I looking at this correctly, that the system is that grid in between the fence and the house? Is that
Correct.
Correct,
Yes.
it's this area right here.
okay? Really, if this system mitigates that, then I have absolutely no objections.
Evening, everyone.
What's that?
Remind to get ready for the winter storage meeting here. Bear with me, I'm just a little rusty. I came in last minute for Tom Smith couldn't make the statement, so.
Whoever EK is, I just had to mute you
Okay.
because of background noise. Sorry, Steve, go ahead.
That's okay. I just had a question about the bottom corner of near the patio. Is the big oak tree there going to be removed?
No, it's the big oak tree is down in this corner in here, so we're not trying to stay away from that tree.
Oh, damn it. That thing keeps me awake at night. We had it in 2020 when the microburst hit, a equally big oak tree landed on our house. But I mean, as far as the project goes, I have no concerns. I mean, when we moved into Houston Street, Patriot Circle was just being laid. The lot has been set up to have a house built on it since then. So great to have a neighbor.
Yeah, just a comment about the elevated, water that you experienced this summer. I did see in the Boston Globe that we only had 5 out of 17 weekends without rain this past spring and summer, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. So there definitely was a lot of water.
We also had over 20 inches of rain in the 3 months of June, July, and August, which is almost half of what we usually get in a normal year.
Yeah.
Which is the climate crisis of more frequent and more intense storms.
You got it.
Stevie, you all set?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay, great. I do see somebody else with a hand raised. Kara, your hand is raised. You are on mute. There you go.
Thank you. Actually, this is Kara's husband. My name is Mark Simino. We live at 21 Heritage Lane.
Hello, Mark.
Which would be the top right of the plan, obviously at a lower elevation. My question is with regards to the proposed retaining wall that's going to be built along the right-hand side. Is that going to tie into the existing retaining wall that is there now?
Yes, it is.
Okay. At what height, like what will the height from the base up to the top of the wall be for that part of the landscape? Because that's like the backside of our house.
It'll probably be somewhere around 8 feet plus.
For the
You know,
full
it's the same
length?
as the existing wall that's out there now. We're raising, as it comes down the property, it slopes, the wall slopes down. And we're raising that to match the existing wall that's out there at the elevation 81.
Okay. And the subsurface drainage, does that eventually then just drain back down into the creek that's that runs along the right side of the property?
At point in time, yes.
Oh, okay, understood. Thank you.
Yeah, so whatever water is actually on the lot will eventually go where it's going today, but that subsurface system will handle what's considered a 100-year storm for the roof runoff and the patio surface areas. So you would have a much delayed effect because of that. All right, any other questions from the public?
Hi, Steve. Just have one. Is there a view from like the ground level? Just trying to get in my mind's eye what my new backyard will look like, or like how high is that wall from my perspective?
I don't have that.
Okay. I mean, can you ballpark it for me just so I can get in my mind's eye?
If you stood in the back of your property and you look at the retaining wall that's sort of from where the cul-de-sac is off to the right, heading towards Zametti's property.
Yep.
It'll probably be it's going to be the same height as that wall.
Okay. So about the height of the existing black chain link that's there right now?
Yes, except where it starts to slope down, we'll be raising that wall up to match the same height as the existing wall to the right. I'll call it heading towards Zametti's property.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, so was there a motion to close the public hearing? I think there was.
Yep, that's Peter.
All right, and was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Ken,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Are you?
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Peter.
Yeah. Can you hold on for just 1 second? I'm in the middle of the meeting. I just gotta vote. I'll be right back. Yeah. I'm sorry, this is Peter. I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. All right, the hearing is closed. I don't know if we'll be talking about an order of conditions, Paul, tonight,
Okay,
so no need to hang on
all right.
for that.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Paul.
All right, take care. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, so just a reminder, I did announce earlier that DEP 313-632 60 Farm Street. That's the new Wakefield High School, has been continued at the applicant's request. So if there is anybody here for the new high school, it has been continued at the applicant's request. The original agenda also had a discussion about a tree removal for 391 Vernon. That will not be discussed tonight. If there's anybody here for that. So the tree removal, 391 Vernon, will not be discussed tonight. All right. Next up, I do see other business holiday meetings scheduled. Rebecca, is that something you wanted to talk about now?
Sure. Just noting that the next meeting is on November 8th. It's a Wednesday, not a Tuesday, due to Election Day. And then I think I sent out for you guys the potential November dates, but just going over that again. The second meeting in November would be the 21st. And then after that,
Which would be the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, right?
that's right.
Okay.
And then so December right now, we're looking at December 5th and December 19th. So just throwing it out there now in case people have any potential issues that we think of, and if we want to reschedule anything or change dates. Which, looking at this, Bob, going back to Zero Patriot, and I can try to get Paul back on the phone. I think you need to discuss the conditions tonight, and I was looking it up and you guys did it all too fast for me, because you have 21 days to issue it, and the 21st day is November 7th. So the next meeting is the 8th, so I can't really do that. So what I'll do is I'm gonna look up Paul's phone number real quick, see if I can get him back on the line. Not that it matters, but I think just because you had said that we wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to give me a couple minutes, you guys can talk about the schedule or anything else that you can think of.
Looking at the calendar. Right now, there is a chance I will not make the 12/19 meeting. I don't know if anybody's got any conflicts with any of these next four, 11/8, 11/21, 12/5, or 12/19.
No, I'm okay. I'm gonna be gone for the 2 in January.
Okay.
Where you
Jimmy
going
and
this?
Peter, you guys good for those 4 dates?
I'm sorry, I had to step out for just a second. I
Oh,
apologize, you
That's
guys.
okay. So the next 4 meetings would be November 8th, which is a Wednesday. Then
Okay.
11/21 back to Tuesday, 12/5 and 12/19, all Tuesdays.
So it'll be 11, what is the Wednesday meeting, 11 what?
11/8.
And then I've got, oh, it's on, it's already on it's on my calendar already, yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I can't do it that because I gotta.
I've got something else booked.
I can't make it because of conservation.
Because I'm booked for all the other ones too. I'll see you guys in January.
I might have an issue with the 8th, but I'll check.
Okay. All right, well, we have a quorum anyways, looks like for sure on those 4 dates. So. All right.
Okay, I just spoke with Paul. He is running out, so he's not going to jump back on the meeting.
Okay.
But he is going to text Stephen Leppo to let him know. So if we could wait a few minutes to see if he wants to jump back on. Although it's not really a discussion, I just felt that because we had said we wouldn't, and now I'm saying that we
Yeah, no, it's good courtesy. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that I was trying to, I just wasn't fast enough, so sorry about that.
It's normally I don't think that's ever happened before. Where
It
we've
just, yeah,
run out of time.
it depends, because a lot of times the meetings are every other week or every 2 weeks, same
Right.
thing. But when there's like an extra couple of days in the month, and if it, depending on how it falls, it can be a 3rd week.
Yeah.
This particular circumstance it is. So anyway, I don't know if you guys still have your standard conditions up or available. We could pull that up. Probably gonna fall within that. And then if we can give it a little bit of time too, before, I just figured to give him a chance. And then the only other thing we can talk about is we've been doing a lot of discussion on stormwater management standards recently. And I just didn't know if you guys would be interested in potentially asking someone to do a presentation for you guys. I listened to a presentation about 2 weeks ago that really, it was so informative, and it got me thinking about the stormwater management standards in a way that I hadn't previously thought about them. And so I just thought it was so helpful. And I thought maybe that under like a continuing education type of situation, if you guys were interested in having someone sort of go over the standards, what they mean, some pitfalls that you guys should look out for. I mean, we're obviously going to rely on, the engineering department to do all of the, or to verify all of the calculations, be it the rates or the recharge volumes and all that kind of stuff. But I think there's some other real important pieces that we should probably understand. And I'm definitely understanding them better now after that presentation and reading in some conversations. But I thought it might be helpful, and I can organize that. We would ask someone to do a presentation. It would be a public meeting because there would be a quorum. So we would advertise it, the 48 hours in advance. It'd go up on the website, and really could be anyone could come on in and listen. But for the most part, it would be someone to go over each of the standards, what they mean, what they're typically looking for. And then if you guys had any questions that you wanted to ask, if you've ever run across something and you had some thoughts and you weren't sure about, hopefully there could be like a question and answer session. Not sure if you guys are interested in that, if you'd want to do that. Like I said, I found it incredibly helpful. And as I keep going through it, I find even more and more questions. So if you guys want, let me know and I can try to organize something.
I think that'd be a really good idea. The stormwater, regs and all that is probably our weakest link, where we have the least in-house knowledge, on the commission. I think it would be a valuable session for all of us.
Anyone else have any thoughts, concerns, ideas on
I
that?
just suggest we do it on a night when we have an agenda like this.
Yeah, well, it might be beneficial to do it on a separate night altogether.
We could do that. Yeah, just don't do it in January, because I'm going to be gone for most of the month.
That sounds awesome. So, yeah.
Yeah, going to New Zealand.
Oh, wow. Paul, is there a corner of the world you haven't been to yet?
Most of South Asia.
Wow. Next year.
Yeah, probably in the next couple if I can do it. Yeah.
So Paul, we never got around to talking about Australia, but I've been in New Zealand too, so I could let you know some.
Okay.
spots.
All right.
Maybe we'll
Yeah.
do it this time.
Yes. Well, we leave the first. We leave on New Year's Day, so
Fantastic.
got a bit of time.
Very jealous. How long are you going for?
3.5 weeks.
Awesome.
Long enough to actually justify the flight.
Yeah, it's long.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how
Nonstop
we ever do it.
JFK to Auckland. So
You going to Auckland?
nonstop JFK to Auckland.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's
Air
fantastic.
New Zealand does it now.
Yeah, we flew Air New Zealand. It was really good.
Was that like 18
Yeah.
hours?
Some 17, I think, Bob. Yeah, it's long. It's probably the longest I've ever been on an airplane.
So long.
Yeah.
We always stopped in California.
Mm.
But 6 to 1, you know, it's
Yep.
just long amount
Looks
of
like Steve is back on, by the by.
Oh, yep. Steve just.
Oh, good.
joined. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Sorry
Steve-
about that, Steve.
Yeah, sorry, we didn't realize the clock was going to expire before our next meeting on the 8th of November. The 8th of November. So we have to have a discussion tonight about conditions. Unless we had a special meeting just for that purpose, but we've got the time tonight to actually have that discussion.
Okay, Paul had another commitment, so I guess I'll help you the best I can, but
Yeah,
So-
it's really just for your, I guess for your information, it would just be a discussion among the commission. Just wanted to extend the courtesy that I did say we weren't going to discuss them tonight. And then after Rebecca, pointed out that we don't have another date to do that. So we need to do it tonight.
well, I'm here, so I can help you any way I can. We have the original one from 18. I don't know if we can go by that for a guideline. The original order conditions we have.
Rebecca, do you have that handy too?
I can look for it. We've changed it since then.
Yeah, we've added conditions and changed some conditions but we can certainly see if there was any special conditions or anything in that one.
Yeah, Steve, real quick, what's the
That was
number?
313567 was the original one from when we did this the first time before
Okay.
COVID. Gonna get built this time. I'm not coming for any extensions.
Okay, let's see. Actually, it doesn't look like you listed any conditions. And Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but according to this, there were no conditions special to this project. It was your standard order.
Yeah, you wanted the silt fence and the hay bales. I know we talked about that. And I don't know if
Yeah.
there's anything else you
That's
consider.
part of Yep, that's part of the standard. So I don't think that we would use anything from that previous order just based on the fact that you have amended your standard. So I think we would probably go with that one. And the only, Elaine mentioned, the only condition that I would have you guys entertain that isn't on the standard order that I'm trying to pull up as we speak, here it is going back to that landscaping plan. Elaine was just a little concerned that some of the selected species enjoy a certain amount of wetness, and if it's on top of the wall, they might struggle. They may or they may not. So
They're not going on top of the wall. There's going to be a mulch or a bed in front of them. Basically, it's going to be the wall, and it's going to be in front of the wall. Any plantings are not going to be on the wall.
It's below the wall?
No, it's going to be in the inside of the wall.
Yes, just meaning
using it
that.
as privacy.
I'm sorry?
I'm just going to be using it as kind of privacy.
Yeah, no. Just a matter of soil moisture. Certain plants like more moisture than others, and so she thought there was a possibility that some of them might be a little in a drier condition than they typically like. So the only thing I would say that you guys could think of is in the event that they're not thriving if you want to just try something else.
I'm gonna want something there either way, so, but that's why I hired James, and he knew the area, he went out and looked at it, so I'm assuming he knows the area, he looked at the plots, we should be able, I told him to recommend what's gonna make everyone happy, and obviously I don't want something I gotta replace every year either.
I don't remember what they were off the top of my.
There were arborvitaes in the back, and
Yeah, those should be fine. So like a high bush blueberry is a facultative, a fac wet plant, as is the inkberry. So that just
we had northern berries. Well, that's it, bayberry. I'm sorry, northern bayberry, and that's going in BAY. So that's going on the top right by the street.
Mhm.
So those are 4 of those. I mean, I'm open to. I mean, this is what he suggested. If there's not a suggestion, I'm open to modifying it. I don't even know what these look like, to be honest. I just said to do something that's going to be easy, and I was just going to do something there anyway. So I'm very open to.
Yeah, I like the choices, to be honest with you. I think they, there's a lot of interest and wildlife value in them. The only concern was whether or not, for instance, the high bush blueberries like it a little bit when there's some moisture in the soil. So if they happen to be on top of a wall and it's draining really well, which it probably will, there's just the possibility that they won't thrive. It's not a huge concern. It's just a potential, and that we just discussing in the conditions of would they require replacements.
I would always put something there. I mean, I mean, I'm gonna probably have irrigation anyway, so I'm assuming that should suffice. Any of that stuff. I mean, I'm open if you have a suggestion. I'm very flexible on the plantings go there. So I'm not a green thumb by any means, so I can't really. But if there's something else you'd like to see, I'm open to anything if that's something you guys are concerned about. So we have that. So it's really only those 7 that we have some concerns with, the northern bayberry and the high bushberry. Those are the 2 that blueberry. That's the 2 that we're concerned with.
More or less, and I wouldn't suggest coming up with alternatives right now. I was just thinking that in the conditions, they might want to put a condition that says in the event that, at the certificate of compliance, or if they do it for a perpetual condition, that these would be replaced if in the event they're not thriving. Sometimes they
If anything, okay. I agree. Anything that dies, I'm gonna want something there anyways. So it's gonna be. I'll make sure when I do it, it'll be a native species. If I come down and talk to you guys,
that's
I'll
kind
get
of
a
a
list.
condition. That's what I was thinking, something like that language.
Okay. Could we just attach a list to what you guys like to see there as an alternative? Is that something you guys could do? Do you guys do that?
Usually anything in the native category, but I'm happy to give you some suggestions. I can just email them to you. It doesn't have to be formal.
I would love that, because I'm just trying to. I was going online trying to see what you got. You know what I mean? But
okay.
I'm very. That's easy. I'm very, very flexible on that. I hope that's my hardest problem with this whole construction project. I'll be happy.
All right, now to the commission members, do you guys want to go through the standard conditions, or do you have them in front of you? Because there are some areas that require you to fill in distances.
Right. I've got a hard copy in front of me. I don't have the electronic copy handy.
Ken, do you have the electronic to share?
I'm looking for the right version right now.
I've got it up.
Perfect.
I can share mine.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul, please.
I believe this is the latest and greatest from this fall in September.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay. So this front page, not much there.
Yeah.
I think there's anything on the second either.
What about number 38?
Number 38 on page 3. Yeah, that's the first one. No stockpiling of soils or other materials within blank feet of any resource area. How close are we to the resource area?
Well, on the right side of the property, it's pretty close.
Good average 20.
But they'd be working that area. There's really not much grading that's occurring on this lot, right? It's
No,
just excavating.
I was, can I just talk to you? Is just, I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah,
I-
Steve, go
The plan,
ahead.
the plan is, I mean, talking to a couple of site guys, we're gonna do the construct the wall first. To kind of build like the pocket, so everything will kind of be kept on the property. That's kind of what the plan was. To do the retaining wall first, then the excavation second.
Okay, that makes sense.
So there will be
And-
some excavation. Obviously, we gotta dig
Foundation.
the wall just to meet the settings, the footing settings for the wall.
Yeah, and then you get your foundation.
Yep, the foundation will be second. So the plan is to,
Right.
is to excavate first for the wall, form and do the wall, and then the foundation will be second.
And when you excavate for the foundation and the wall, would you be stockpiling that soil or removing it?
We're gonna be removing most of it, I think. We'll be using some to the back. There is a little bit of grading per Paul's plans, but like I said, the wall will all be in first, so it won't be leave, and none of the dirt will be able to leave the property, because there'll be a wall all the way around it. And the plan was to talk to the excavator, depending on the dirt, because it is a pretty big foundation, he's gonna have to pull the dirt off site. There's not really any room to stockpile. If you look at the foundation, it's pretty much like Paul's site plan. The foundation pretty much takes up a lot of the land, so we're not gonna really have room to stockpile dirt. So it's gonna be taken off site.
Okay.
the only place where you get into the buffer is over there on the right-hand side along that wall, right?
The
And what,
20
if anything, it would be,
25-foot buffer.
if anything, it would be on the totally other side where the garage is going. If any dirt would get piled on the other side anyways. There's not really a lot of room on that lot to stockpile anything, so it's gonna have to be taken away. They might even have to do the foundation in two steps, the house, then the garage. So probably if any, they'll push the dirt from there over to the garage side, which is on going towards like, not Salem Street, I don't know what the other street is right there, but towards that direction, not opposite of the wetlands, opposite side.
Do we want to pick a number here for, do you want to use the 25 feet or something different?
Yeah, I mean, I think 25 would be reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing that for the most part, there won't be any stockpiling of fill of stuff removed.
It definitely won't be, definitely won't be by the 25 foot, I can tell you that, because we'll just be moving it 3 times. I'm sure they're not gonna do work 3 times.
No. Okay,
Most of the property is beyond the 25-foot buffer.
right.
anyways.
It's only right along that one wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys had 27 on the original one, I believe. Oh, no, shot between the limit line, never mind. I'm trying to, my copy I have is different than yours. I'm trying to see where you guys are. See like these forms changed a little bit.
Next is perpetual conditions, no storing of any landscape debris within blank feet of the wetland resource area or in any portion of the stormwater management system.
So this one, we have a wall there, but what we want to do is prevent anybody from dumping over the wall.
Right.
So make it like 30 feet from the resource area, because he averages around 25 feet.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be 5 feet further away. So he'd have to leave it on his property or bring it to the pit.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we should, make this one clear. Because as people see a wall, they dump over it all the time. Instead of putting a foot there, a distance, should we specify no debris?
Shall be
like some of the
dumped
wall?
on the wetland side of the wall, of the retaining wall?
Yeah,
Fine with that. I'm gonna have a landscaper anyway, so we're not worried about that.
that's kind of the natural thing homeowners love to do. Oh, here's an easy place to get rid of it. And over the wall it goes.
Well, the two people that called and had questions are notorious. You can look in their backyard right now. They've been dumping leaves there for years. 25 and 21 Heritage. You go back there when we were looking at the site work. They've been dumping leaves there for 20 years.
So yeah, that's exactly what we want to not have happen. So Rebecca, can we reword that?
Yep, I'll write it up. I know what you're looking for.
Okay.
Fine with that. That's reasonable. Not that it matters what I think, but it's fine.
46 is the next one.
Yep. Pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides prohibited within.
Do we want to say 25 foot or within the wall? Whichever is more conservative.
Or do you want to extend that so it doesn't end up, even though it's going into that chamber, it's eventually getting into the wetlands?
Yeah, I'm not sure how best to word that one.
Steve, what's your plan for landscape management there? In terms of fertilizers and pesticides, herbicides in particular, I guess, on your lawn.
I mean, at my current house, I use pet friendly, just from True Green or something like that. I have dogs, so whatever they have, I use it. What's pet friendly, but I don't really have a lot of grass on that side, on the wall side. It's only like 3-foot strip of grass. I can, if that's an issue, I could probably just not do anything on the whole side of the house. It's really not. It's a very small piece of grass that's adjacent to the 25 foot.
So if we set that at 25, that would be easily attainable.
Yeah, because you have the wall, and I think we have at least a 3-foot bed with a bush there. Yeah, I don't see any issue with that at all. Most of my grass is behind the house on the other wall, the back of the house, not the back facing the wetland side, the back facing the Houston Street side.
Yeah.
You guys want to pull up the plan real quick again? Take a look at it, or do you have it in front of you?
This
We got it. You just sent it an email right before the meeting, right?
Yeah.
This is the. Did you want the landscape plan, Rebecca, or the site plan?
I don't think it matters. Just so.
This is
Well,
the.
looking
Are
at
you
the
seeing my
same-
screen?
No, we're still seeing from the standard orders, we're still seeing.
Oh,
Standard
okay.
orders.
Let me see. Let me go
Yeah, flip
off
over.
that and bring up the other one.
I mean, maybe it's possible you don't even grass that very small strip. Maybe that's a mulched area or a planting bed or.
You mean that?
Here it is.
Yeah, because I'm not exactly sure. I know where you guys are talking about. Okay.
Talking right there, I believe. Well,
Along this edge, you're within the 25 feet.
I think we're talking about between the house and that, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Up a little
Yep.
bit more. I think we're talking like
Yep.
a little
Right
bit
through
more.
there. Yeah.
I have to look how much that is, but I think that's probably 2 or 3 feet. I was planning on putting grass there, but if that's going to be an issue, we can discuss it. Or I can just tell them not to fertilize that section. I'm fine with that also.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to control that, but you're also further from the wetland in that area too.
Yeah, the wetlands, W5 is the
Yeah,
closest.
5, 4, and 3 are.
We're probably more than 20 foot, probably closer. It looks like 40 feet right there based on
Yeah.
Over here? Yeah.
So again, I think if we say 25, we're probably good.
Yeah.
because we're showing 31 there, and that, from W7 is 32 feet almost, and all above that is more. If I'm reading that correctly.
Yeah, so it's 31 from
31
the
off the
corner of the
house,
house
yes.
to the wetland line. It's probably 20, I don't know, 26, 27.
That's the closest point, though.
Yeah, from the wall. Then it just only gets higher as you go plan north by wetland flag 6, 65 4.
There's not gonna be any grass where the arrow is right now. It's gonna
Right.
be the patio with the drainage system under, so there'll be no, the only place to be fertilized would be by the 31.6, above that, and a little below that, if there was fertilizer. And I think it looks like it's over 30 feet on all the closest point anyways.
Yeah, that's probably, yeah, well over that, and probably upwards to 45 or more as you move along the wetland line. I think 25 is reasonable unless somebody's got a different suggestion.
I was thinking, can you guys hear? All right. I mean, realistically, when someone applies any lawn treatments, they're really just going to go around the lawn.
Exactly.
Really not going to
Stop.
section it out. It just doesn't make sense that anyone would do that really, or any landscaper would do that. And just a thought is you could say no, none of the fertilizer or whatnot in the landscaping beds, maybe that are located on top of the wall. That might be more realistic as opposed to suggesting that they section off pieces of grass, which probably won't happen.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And since it's on top of the wall, I think that might be more attainable and hopefully suiting the same purpose by limiting it there, because he's got a landscaping beds with mulch and shrubs. Maybe, I don't know if it's elevated or not, but it might be enough of a.
What do you mean by elevated? The bed's elevated?
Yeah, you know, sometimes they plant them up on a mound.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
haven't got that far yet. but
Yeah,
I'm
no, and
assuming
that's okay.
They probably build it up a little bit, I'm assuming.
That's all I'm thinking. So it's like a nice demarcation between the edge of lawn and the landscaping bed. And again, it just doesn't seem realistic that someone's walking around with a hose or a spreader with fertilizer in it. They're not going to stop for a piece of grass. Just doesn't make that much sense. But it could be limited. We could limit it outside of the landscape beds. Especially if they're just going to plant them and they're putting in soil amendments and mulch and all that stuff, it's probably fine.
And we are still pretty far right there too, like W4, 5, and 6 is probably 40 feet, I would think. Based on these plans, probably more than 40 feet. W7 is 31 feet. The other ones are further.
Well, W7, that looks to the corner of the house.
That's to the corner of the house. W7
No, I know.
is only about
Yeah.
22 feet off the wall.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, point taken.
I'll probably have a gate there with like probably a couple field stones or something anyway, so I don't know if there'll even be grass there anyways.
Okay.
Yeah, in retrospect, that area, the original patio paver area probably made more sense to leave that as patio pavers instead of reducing it and having that little grassed area in the back. But
So you'd rather see more paved? I thought
Well-
I thought we cut it down last time. We didn't want the paved, so I cut it back.
we did, but we also didn't have the drain at that time for the pavers. I don't think.
Here's the landscape plan now.
I think that's probably 17 feet from the bulkhead to the corner of the house. I believe that room is 17 feet, so it might be 17 feet right there. I don't know what the depth of that is, but it's just for perspective, it's 17 feet
Okay.
from the bulkhead where it meets to the end of the house is 17 feet, just so we have an idea what it is.
I think Rebecca's suggestion kind of makes it clean.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will do whatever you guys like. It's not, I'm not really crazy about grass.
It's a lot of work.
I don't talk
It
to my
is.
lawn. I don't talk to it. It's green this year because of the rain, but I'm not the guy out there talking to it every day. I'm not the grass whisperer.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, Rebecca, you good on that one?
That actually sort of takes care of 46 and 47.
Yes.
Mhm. Okay. You want me to bring up the conditions again?
Yeah, please.
Okay,
Those of us that don't have photographic memories have no idea what's.
I don't either. No plowed snow stored within blank feet of the wetland. Seems like that one's not terribly,
It's probably non-jurisdictional. right?
Yeah, he's well out, the driveway is well outside of our jurisdiction.
I can delete it.
Same thing for 49, I think, unless you're,
Yeah,
Steve, unless you're planning on using salt on your back patio or something.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Steve, I got a question for you. I should have asked it before, but I'll ask it now. Are you putting pavers in the back, correct? In the backyard?
yes.
Are
Hold on one
those,
second.
so
Hold on one second, I can't.
are those ones that you're gonna put the poly sand in between?
I haven't decided yet which ones. I wasn't sure. I know we just got to the drainage point right now. Sorry, I just had some pop up on my screen. They want me to update for bars. I don't have.
No, I'm just gonna suggest that if you're gonna capture the water from the patio, if you put the poly sand in there, you do need like a trench drain along the edge or at the low point to pick up the water. Do you see what I'm saying?
So you want to,
And blocks the drainage through between the pavers? But
It won't go through the pavers with the poly sand. The poly sand it's like a glue.
Yeah,
Oh,
And it stops the weeds from coming through, so you don't want to not do that.
yeah,
you want-
basically
you-
it turns your impervious, your
just think
pervious into
about it.
impervious.
I don't care. I'm just saying, if you
Can
do.
you say that one more time? I'm sorry, you break up a little. Can you say, I'm sorry, do you want the sand with the sealer, you're saying?
It's totally up to you, but I'm saying if you use the pavers with the poly sand, you need to put some type of a trench on the low point of your patio to collect the water, to put back into that drain, that system that you have. Otherwise, the water's not gonna get there.
Okay. So I thought, didn't Paul say we were doing a full drainage system? We add a secondary.
Yeah, well, that's what made me think about it when he said that, but he didn't specify how the drainage system's going, and for the patio, it's not typical that you'd have like around your house or to pick up your gutters.
Well, I don't want any standing water there, so we'll make sure that we have the
Yeah.
drainage system properly, of course.
Yeah, okay. Just mention it to Paul, he'll know.
Yep.
All right, Paul, want to scroll?
sure. I think that's the end of the standards, other than the other stuff.
Yeah, we do have to talk about other stuff.
I don't
right?
think any of these are particularly relevant, are they?
I don't think so.
No,
NIPD's stormwater prevention plan,
no,
no. So, and I don't. Temporary erosion controls, there's no detention basin or
No.
so.
And I'm just to confirm, I'm deleting 48 and 49.
yes.
Yes,
All right. I think that's it, unless there's something else, something special.
I can't think of any special conditions.
the only thing I would question, looking at this temporary erosion controls on stormwater drainage system outlet pipes. Is there going to be an outlet pipe from this stormwater management system, or is it all going to just go percolate into the ground from that?
Well, the roof and the patio going into the Caltech chambers.
And those just drain directly downwards, right?
Correct, correct.
Okay, so there's no outlet really.
No,
So we don't need anything here. So
No.
I think we can leave this whole thing out. Okay,
I mean, we have erosion and sediment controls as part of the standard somewhere in the beginning, right?
I'll go up and look.
We do.
The silt fence we're talking about?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah,
Erosion
we're good.
control measures there, erosion mark. Yep.
Do we need both those, or can we get away with just this? I know sometimes you just do the silt fence of the hay. Do we need both those in this job, or just one can do?
Well, you're excavating for the base of the wall, right?
We're gonna do the wall first, and then the wall will be up, and then everything else, the wall will pretty much be protection then at that point.
So, yeah, it'd probably be more important during the excavation and construction
with
of the wall. So what you can do is this, get your erosion control that you're hoping for put in. Elaine does a pre-construction meeting. So after you get that installed, you notify us, and then Elaine will set up a site visit with you to go out and inspect the erosion control measure. And so whatever you install, if she determines that it's adequate for the work that's going to be done and in the location it's supposed to be, then she will sign off on it there and you can just move forward.
So do you
Well-
feel, Rebecca, I need both? Do I, how many of the silt and the hay bales or just the silt fence? Or it's hard to tell till you look at
The system is the silt fence and the hay bale. They work
Okay.
together.
it? Okay, Jim, thank you.
But, okay.
I'm trying to learn as I go, so I haven't done this before.
Yeah,
It is
and
good to have them both because the silt fence is technically supposed to be embedded in the ground so that nothing
Right.
can go underneath it. And a lot of times it's not done that way. And so having the hay bales there sort of is like that first stopgap. And then when people don't embed the the fence itself, it sort of works out.
Two forms of stoppage, I get it.
yeah, the fence gets like towed in.
Yeah. And a lot of times it doesn't.
You're right. A lot
So,
of times it never gets removed.
and then there's that.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so
I think I got it.
All right, so
Okay.
we did remove a couple of conditions. We did set some limits on a few, but we did not add any special conditions.
That's correct.
So we have our standard order as amended. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve that?
Sure, I'll move that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Peter? Peter?
Yes.
Okay, Paul?
Yes.
Jim?
You said-
Is that a yes?
Are you saying Jim or Tim?
Jim? Jimmy?
Jim, okay. I'm Jim.
Yeah, okay.
What does
Haley?
Tim say?
Tim's coming tomorrow. He's late.
Haley, did you,
Yes.
okay, Ken?
Yes.
And I also vote yes.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Can I say good night? Good for
Good night,
business?
yes, for
Good
good.
night.
Getting
This
past
time
my
we're done.
bedtime. Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
You too. All right.
He's stepping on you.
Yeah, I do have a question for you, Rebecca, on the hay bale silt fence. I don't see it specified in our standard conditions. Is it part of the DEP standard conditions?
The
The erosion and sediment control measures? Because we don't really
That-
have it showing up in what we've got there. 'Cause I didn't see it.
yeah, it was in this. Okay, I mean, I could put it back in there about the double staked hay bales and
Yeah, because
that double measure.
in looking at it, I didn't see much of anything there.
Well, and sometimes they don't use it. It sort of depends. I mean, I'm flexible on it because Elaine always does an inspection
Yeah,
to ensure that whatever method they choose is appropriate. So for some, if there's not really a steep slope or any of that stuff, having the sock mulch type of situation can be good enough.
hmm
Not certainly it wouldn't be for, if you had really steep slopes where it could overtop, I wouldn't suggest that. And
It looks to me like all we've got is 30 here.
I thought there was something earlier about erosion controls.
we used to have it in there. There were
Yeah.
about 3 or 4 erosion control. There was a guidance document that it's very old. I swear it's from like 1997. That talked about the method to install erosion controls. And that lingered for a really, really long time. I do think that it is now such common practice and somewhat expected and used so often that we've sort of gotten away from that specific guidance document. However, if you guys are, we can talk about that too. I mean, we can add something specific back in. I would only say that it would be valuable probably to ask Elaine's opinion because she sees it so often in the field, whether or not she thinks that there needs to be some guidance on erosion control measures, or is she seeing that for the most part, the measures that are installed are appropriate? I can go either way, whatever you guys want to do.
I just wondering if we want something to say that the applicant shall install appropriate erosion control measures as recommended in whatever the guidance document is that you're referencing, Rebecca, or
Okay.
Do
So
you
why
I
don't
mean,
we-
because there's nothing here. 30 and this one mention of checking them weekly, but
Rebecca, I have a question for you. Do you need to condition it separately if it is in the plans? If the detail in the plans show a silt fence and a silt sock or hay bale?
No, you wouldn't
So-
need to, because the plans are really part of the order and
Right.
part of the document, and any,
okay,
as you
So-
say, like any changes or deviations from the approved plans is considered a change. So
Right, you're
if
approving
there
the
is a detail,
plans.
you're right, you wouldn't have to.
okay, well, there is an erosion control plan.
There's a detail on.
Yeah,
one of the
silt
plans, yep.
fence and silt sock.
So the point is, if that's acceptable, that's what they're gonna do. You don't need to call it out separately. They
Okay,
have to do
all right.
what they show that they're going to do, which we have approved.
Okay,
Well, isn't there something in 1 through 21 or something about erosion controls? There must be.
that's what I was wondering about. But there, as Ken notes, it's on the plan.
Yeah.
There's a detail on erosion control on slopes right there. So I think we're fine.
Bob, are you concerned for if there doesn't happen to be a detail?
Yeah.
Or if the detail is not sufficient.
Right.
I mean, technically, yeah. I mean, when you guys approve the plans, you approve the details too. So I suppose we should be looking at those.
Yeah.
I mean, would it make sense to have a general statement in that condition 30? You know, something like sufficient erosion and sediment controls will be approved, you know, by the commission, blah, 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 and just as part of that number 31 or whatever it was.
It is 30. The erosion,
30.
and actually it says I didn't read it properly, but it says the erosion control and or limit of work shall be properly installed as shown on the approved plan. So it does reference the plan. So we need to be careful that the plan in fact calls out an appropriate erosion control measure.
Need our legal opinion on this one. Peter, I'm looking at you.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Well, we've done it before with Jimmy has specifically said.
I'll bring it up here, Peter, again. It's this one. The erosion control and our limit of work shall be properly installed as shown on the approved plan. That's in our conditions. And then we also have on
Is there a missing word, erosion control and or limit of work?
not unless you want to put a "the" in front of limit. Limit of work is usually just marked.
Is a limit of work, is it a limit of work indicators or, I don't know what you call
I mean, limit of work and erosion control aren't always the same exact spot.
Right.
it? Well, erosion control is it's a a limit of work marker, or what is a limit of work,
I mean, technically, it's a point that they're not going to go past for any reason for the project.
But isn't it a
erosion
limit of
control
work indicator, a limit of work marker, a limit of work indicator,
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they're one and the same. The erosion controls
I think
are
Peter's
at the
just
limit of
looking for a
work.
noun there, not just an adjective.
Yeah, something is not right there.
Although if you read it as
or markings, because you say the next one. The limit of work shall be clearly marked with stakes, flags, erosion.
Yeah, I
control,
think
limit of work or limit of work markings shall be properly installed as shown on the approved plan.
I think we need to strike that or limit of work from that first sentence And let's see, the erosion control
Well,
Yes,
you could have
shall
both.
be improperly installed as shown in approved plan.
period, yes.
And then mention the limit of work shall be clearly marked.
With stakes, etc. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That meet
Stakes,
our,
flags, fencing, but just it's marking shall be clearly marked. So markings, the erosion control and or the limit of work marketing, markings shall be properly.
Well, I think we want to be very clear
Erosion control
that
is not a
the,
marking. It is erosion control. That is the noun. Limit of work markings. That's fine. I'm fine with that. It's just we're just getting into details. Everyone knows what it means. So what was the question that you had? You asked me to look at.
we
is
were
this
wondering
clear
about
enough?
the use of the term erosion control shall be properly installed as shown on the approved plan. Is that sufficient to hold them to a condition for installing silt fence and hay bales or whatever?
So
In
you
this
can
case,
condition
they show a detail on their plan, which we're approving. Here, let me switch it.
So you can
Okay.
condition something on top of what they show on their plan, right, Rebecca? It could have a detail of a construction, and if you like it, you don't have to mention it because they're doing it. Or you could say, in addition, install this if needed.
Yeah,
type of thing.
I think that you're not asking for. I mean, all it's saying is that you're going to do what you say. You're gonna. I think it makes perfect sense. I mean,
your erosion control detail on the drawing that they gave us. So
yeah, I think it would be. I think it looks fine. I don't see anything wrong with it. And my point was only I was just quibbling over the, the grammar, but that's everyone knows what it means, so I'm not too concerned about it at all.
Okay. All right. So Rebecca, I think you got your legal opinion.
It's a-okay.
And also, I have an edit, which is I'm going to delete and or limit of work, and I'm going to add the word marking after the next sentence, the limit of work.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Rebecca?
Which part? As shown on the
that.
approved plan or the grammatical changes?
The grammatical change.
I think it's fine. No, 6 to 1. I think either way.
Yeah, it's fine. Everyone knows what it means.
Yeah, I'm happy to change it. Or if you guys,
we're not going to have a problem with the language as written, so let's not even bother with it.
Okay.
And I'm also really comfortable with referencing the approved plan because I suppose there's a potential that you could run into a conflict where their detail is different than what you cite on the conditions, and they're going to be like, okay, which one do you want me to do?
Better to reference the plan.
Yeah, I think that's right. You reference the plan.
All of these are easily tackled. I think that none of them are really that big of a deal. And from the experience I have, I haven't come into too many problems with either one of them. So I don't think it's
well, that's important too. So that's just like we don't want to. And I do think that referencing the plans when that should be the basis for what they do. They're going to do what they submitted.
We have the as-built still on those standard order.
I think so.
Believe so, yeah.
No, I don't have a standard order up anymore, but I'm sure it is. Even if you didn't, I think it's required. Isn't it required by DEP now too? Is it one of I can't remember, but if you don't, I think it's there, but I think you do.
Yeah, it's in number 43 for the certificate of compliance. They have to submit a cert from a registered PE. The construction complies with the order, and 2 sets of field surveys, as-built site plans.
All right, perfect.
So, and post-construction photographs.
And there might be cases where we waive that. I know we have in the past, but I just wanted to make sure it was in there.
It's there.
Yep, good. Okay. All right, so we're good with the order?
I think so. Do we need a motion to accept it, or we just do it? Rebecca,
No, we need to vote in motion. Just want to make sure we're all set with it. All right, so would somebody like to make a motion to issue the order of conditions for Zero Patriot Circle as discussed?
I'll motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Peter,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
and I also vote yes. Going in reverse order now, if you noticed.
Hmm.
Alphabetically reverse order.
Wow.
Mixing things up.
By first name or last name?
First.
Okay.
All right. Rebecca, you good with that? All right. Rebecca, do you have any other business you want to cover?
It depends on if you guys want to tackle anything else or if you'd like to cut to end now.
Well,
I wanted to raise one thing.
Go ahead, Paul.
At the last meeting, I think we were looking at the school and we were talking about the lighting, especially over by the wetland. And there was this question, Jimmy raised a question about the 590 nanometers lights. I did a little digging. Those lights are basically more or less the same color as those old sodium vapor lights that we used to see around a fair amount. The yellow lighting, that's what essentially you'll end up with if you go that route, rather than the warm white or streetlight white that we see around.
Yeah, and that isn't at 2,500 to 3,000 degree Kelvin color.
It's a color temperature, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Whereas
590 is a very limited wavelength of light.
Correct.
Basically right around the yellow bar in the sodium spectrum.
Right.
The one thing I didn't find was a whole lot of information supporting it, except from the guys who make those lights, the Access lighting people. They've posted a bunch of papers online supporting their posture, but otherwise, California DOT did a big survey of it and basically said, you know, stay below 3K, 3,000 Kelvin. And beyond that, they didn't offer a lot of particular guidance. It basically said longer wavelengths, redder lights are better than blue lights.
Right.
But that seemed to be about the extent of what they could offer. That was with a big literature survey that they commissioned a year or so ago.
Yeah, and we had the dark sky presentation, whatever, a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't talk about wavelength at all. They talked about degrees Kelvin and that 25 to 3,000, which is the soft, yellow.
Yeah, exactly.
More natural looking light. Remember when LEDs first came out, they were almost blue?
Yeah.
That is the extreme end of you don't want.
Exactly. Agreed.
And
you
then
want to probably
toned it down.
For something like that too. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, but if you go down 93 right now, there's a couple of places where the normal LED lights have turned blue. Some of them are defective, and the only thing that remains on is the blue LEDs. And so you may want a condition just that they've got to maintain that color temperature over its life. Something to think about in a lighting standard. But I'm not sure. I'm a little skeptical of the yellow lights. I'm not sure if they're as good for safety.
I mean,
wait, you say that we should be cautious about using yellow lights?
Yeah.
All right.
Is that a flashing yellow or a solid yellow? I mean, the incandescent lights that we had forever are in that yellow.
Exactly, but they're not yellow.
No.
They're fine. They're warm.
Right, and those were fine until we got into LEDs with the
with a lot of blue.
Yeah, and the 5,000 and 6,000 degree Kelvin.
Yeah.
But
those
I think
are nasty lights.
Most of the manufacturers, I think, have all resolved that issue. Like now, if you get Christmas lights or anything, you have your choice of soft, what's the term? Daylight versus warm soft light or something like that.
You get warm white versus sunlight white, which is bluer.
Yeah.
or daylight, I guess.
Daylight's a bluer, right? So yeah, there's options now with all the manufacturers.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to report that I did do some looking and not sure we want to dive into embracing 590 nanometers as a standard.
Agreed. And again, the dark sky presentation, then wavelength never came up.
Yeah. I think there are folks who think that's where things should go, but
I think it's good that you researched it, so now we have the right answer.
yeah, or at least we know there isn't a great answer yet. But
right.
Can I ask
right.
Rebecca? Rebecca, you talked about the stormwater. Who were you thinking would come in and talk about it?
Well, there was a presentation very recently that was given to conservation agents, and through DEP was sort of like a partner. Where the presentation is already done, I was thinking maybe I would contact those folks to see if they would be willing to give a very, very similar presentation, but maybe geared a little bit more towards commission members, and also with a question and answer period. That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Does that work for you guys?
Who presented it?
Beals and Thomas?
Okay.
And it certainly can be anyone. It just so happens that that was done very recently, and I know like a couple of weeks ago, and I just know that it's already prepared. So from a financial standpoint, it would be it's already done as a presentation. So that's what I was thinking. But of course, I'm open to any suggestions if you guys would like to see something else.
How long was that presentation?
An hour.
I think if you got a lot out of it, then it'd certainly be beneficial for us to see the same thing, and what it's already done and created, and yeah.
I really, really did. And it sort of prompted me to really go through the standards a lot closer and do some reading. And I've been doing that, and happy to discuss some of it tonight if you guys want to, but if you would rather not, that's fine. I started putting together do you remember the riverfront standards and how I put together like a list of what they were and like what kind of questions you can ask and that kind of thing? Do you guys remember that for redevelopment in the riverfront? So sort of doing the same thing, because the stormwater management handbook has a couple of different volumes in it. And initially it can seem overwhelming, but they have like, so what I did was, like, out of volume 1, there's the standards that are listed, and then they give an explanation of standards. And to be honest with you, that's a little bit more valuable than just the standard itself. And then in volume, I think it's volume 3, they talk about documenting compliance. That also is something that is valuable, because they talk about what type of information you guys should be seeing to ensure compliance with the standards. Obviously the rates and volumes calculations and the, TR 55 methodology bill will take care of all that. But I do think there's probably pieces of that you guys should not necessarily know the calculations, but understand, for instance, that you should be getting a soil survey across the entire lot. So, and just understanding like what different soils mean as far as infiltration or surface runoff or whatever. And not to get too deep into it, but knowing the difference between the hydrologic soil groups A, B, C, D. And again, you don't have to go into great detail, but just so when you're looking at these things, you have a full understanding of what it means on the site.
Mm-hmm.
And I think probably the most important piece that I think we should really wrap our heads around is what maximum extent practicable means. Because that's redevelopment, and that is something that you're always going to have applicants saying this is the best we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not you really think that's the best that they can do. And I think having an idea of what that means before you see a project makes a lot of sense. So what are your expectations? They do give you some information and some guidance on what you should be considering. But, you know, it's really hard, I think, when you guys see a project, a redevelopment project, and it's, you know, there's one thing and now there's something else, and you're always going to hear, but this is an improvement. There wasn't stormwater management before, and now there is. Well, that's great. And that's definitely true, but that's not maximum extent practicable. And that is the language that is included. So could they add in another BMP to make it that much better? Yeah, probably. And so I find myself included often will be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, there's no more room on the site, or that soil, you know, they're supposed, this is what they, by the way, they're supposed to be documenting this. We can't do it because here's why there's no more room on the site. We can't do it because here how the soils don't match for infiltration, so we can't do something like that. Here's how, you know, they're supposed to be supplying each and every tidbit for you to evaluate. A lot of times it just comes in, well, that doesn't really make sense. We just can't. I think it's hard if you don't. Say again.
We would want them to provide a more fulsome explanation of why they can't.
Yeah, and I think that it gets really challenging when you have someone presenting something in front of you to sit there and be like, are you sure that's the best you can do? So if you have in advance, prior to ever seeing a project, like when you see redevelopment projects, if you have a pretty good idea of what you're looking for in advance, I just think it makes it that much easier to, you know, first meeting, hey, listen, when we do this, it seems like we would like to see this, that, the other thing. And I think that just might be easier, but we really have to know what that is first and come to some consensus on what we're looking for when we talk about maximum extent practicable. Because I think this is my own personal opinion, I'm not sure this is true, but it seems to me that when we get redevelopment projects, it seems like they design their site to what they need, what they're looking for, what they want, and then try to say, oh, okay, where could we squeeze in some stormwater management? Because we really don't have to do it all if we can't. And I'm not sure that's how it's supposed to be looked at. You know what I mean? I don't think the idea is max out your site and then squeeze in your stormwater management on the side to the best you can. I'm not sure that's how that means. I think in some cases it might be reasonable to request whether it's additional component in the treatment train, or maybe a different BMP, or maybe a pre-treatment, or, you know, something a little bit more. I think that's reasonable. And I think a lot of times probably could be achieved. But again, it's something that we should know in advance what we're looking for. That way, when you evaluate the plan right from the start, you could say, hey, listen, I think you've got enough space to infiltrate some of the roof runoff over here. Or if you really can't, why can't you make this area or reduce this? And you know what I mean? Just like, so you have these conversations and you know what you're looking for beforehand. Because it's just very easy to say, oh, yeah, it's an improvement. Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So the standards, there's a lot of information in that handbook. I thought of a lot of different ways of kind of go over it. Another thing too, in volume, I think it's 2, where they actually go through each of the BMPs, each one, and in there for each one, I can pull it up too. It tells you where they're appropriate and where they're not. That should be something that we are paying attention to, and I'm not sure. And that's something that's pretty simple. Like, we certainly don't have to be stormwater experts to be able to say, okay, this BMP says, according to the handbook, you can't do this, or you should do this, or it has to be this far away. Those are pretty easy.
When they're doing these plans and coming up with their systems that they think are adequate, what's level are they going? I mean, what level of development are they talking about that you would have to put something in addition? What are they designing for? I mean, if you're talking about saying that, well, maybe you need another best management infiltrator or something like that, how do they know to what extent they need to go with theirs, whatever they're putting into? take care of the drainage?
So are you saying,
With something, how do they know how far to go that's gonna satisfy the commission?
so are you saying like what would be a standard that we would put out there in advance that say you have to meet this?
Well, I'm getting to that, but that's not what I was.
I mean,
I mean,
there's a whole,
I can see how it would lead to that.
I mean, there's a whole handbook out there about stormwater management and and all of this is within your purview, or most of it, because under the Wetland Protection Act, because the discharge point is to the wetland. So ultimately, we should be ensuring that whatever they provide is the best that we can do to minimize pollutants traveling and to ensure that there's no
I
flood.
understand that, but I'm just saying, they've designed a system already. They had to use some gauge to go by to tell them how much is enough of a best management system for what they're doing. So I don't know if I want to come back after they've already designed the building and say, oh, well, you got to put, 5 more Caltech chambers or something
Well,
like
we've
that.
done that before. We've said, you've designed for 25-year storm. Can you make it a 50?
I'm not talking for like a house. I'm talking like these bigger projects.
I'm not sure I can fully answer that question. I mean, maybe I don't know enough about it in general, or maybe I'm not sure I understand your question, or maybe that's something that we can talk about in the event that we get someone to provide us with more information on this. But
does DEP have a definition of
Maximum extent practicable?
Yes.
Doubt it. Do they? Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've gone through that.
What does it say?
It's in the stormwater management standards.
Oh, yeah?
It is.
Well, the same language is in the riverfront too.
Yep, it is. They're kind of different, but I mean hold on. For the purposes of stormwater management standard 3, maximum extent practicable means 1, the applicant has made all reasonable efforts to meet the standard. 2, the applicant has made a complete evaluation of all possible infiltration measures, including environmentally sensitive design that minimizes land disturbance and impervious surfaces, low impact development techniques, and structural best management practices. And if the post-development recharge does not at least approximate the pre-development, the applicant has demonstrated that the highest practical method for infiltrating has been implemented. So you really have to understand what all those things are. And then, so it says, for instance, there's something else too. I mean, this is standard 3. If you go to volume 3, they have documenting compliance. So what does this mean? So for instance, when this is under number 3, this is getting off topic on maximum extent practical. But hold on, let me go back to this. Do you guys have all these volumes? I mean, they're all online. I sent you a link, right?
Yeah.
But it's hard because they're in so many different places. So what I was trying to put together is like I listed out stormwater standard number 1, and I wrote the standard, and then I wrote a little excerpt from the explanation of the standards, and then I cut and paste like a little piece from the documenting compliance and kind of put those all under one standard, where it's not done like that right now. They're all in separate handbooks. I mean, separate chapters. Just bear with me for 1 second. God, where was it? So that listing of maximum extent, I believe there's also there's another definition somewhere.
That in a way, actually, you answered my question.
Say again?
You actually answered my question with what you just brought up now, that definition, because that definition is telling you how much you have to do to be considered.
The answer is a good amount, actually.
Yeah, it is quite a bit.
So, all right. So if you go to, I don't know if anyone has it in front of them, but volume 1, chapter 1, page 20 talks about redevelopment. And that's where it says you have to meet to the maximum extent practicable. They just define what redevelopment projects are. Now, interestingly enough, similar to Riverfront, you can have a redevelopment portion and a new development portion. You know how we do that in Riverfront sometimes? So it reads that there's a similar scenario. And it says that somewhere in here, blah, 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 blah. So the purposes of standard 7, maximum extent practical, is proponents of redevelopment projects have made all reasonable efforts to meet the standard. Of course, that becomes into what do you guys consider a reasonable effort? They have made a complete evaluation. This is part of the one, this is what I learned from the presentation. It says they've made a complete evaluation. They're supposed to submit that to you. They're supposed to document that they have made a complete evaluation. I don't remember ever seeing that.
I've never seen it.
No, I know. And I think that was one of the things that really stuck out in that presentation. I was like, I'm not sure I do that. And that complete evaluation is of all possible stormwater management measures, including environmentally sensitive design. And then it goes through in the stormwater handbook exactly what that is. And then if not in full compliance, they are implementing the highest practicable level. And then it goes on to talk about it. It says generally an alternative is practicable if it can be implemented within the site being developed, taking into consideration cost, land area, soils, and other constraints.
Yeah.
However, off-site alternatives may also be practicable. That's definitely nothing I've ever really thought about. So for instance, if they don't have the room on their lot, but they own the adjacent lot or they own some space nearby, it's certainly reasonable for you to require them and considered practicable for you to require them to use that. If they have a site constraints, but they have more site, they're just not using it, you can require them to use it. So for instance, to cite something off site if they have that under their ownership, I suppose it would be. Actually, it says consider, for example, pursuing an easement. You could even do that for locating stormwater controls on an adjacent lot where adequate capacity exists or can be provided may be a practicable alternative. I mean, that's definitely nothing we've ever considered. I've never really thought of that. But economic factors must be weighed as a redevelopment project attempts to meet the standards. The scope, and this is another good one, the scope and effort to be undertaken to meet the standards should reflect the scale and impacts of the proposed project, right? So the scope and effort to meet the standards should be commensurate with the project scale.
So there's a lot of judgment in that.
There is a lot of judgment, but that's why I think we should talk about it first, because it's harder to make those judgments after you have a project in front of you. Whereas if you guys decide beforehand what you think is reasonable to require and what things you should be looking at and costing and having that discussion amongst you before you are doing it in front of a project, I think would be very valuable. I mean, there's a lot of language in here that I just really never contemplated, to be honest. So all redevelopment must improve existing conditions. That you're usually going to get. That's a common statement. I'm sure that's probably true. And usually that, similar to redevelopment, they're like, oh, well, we're putting in stormwater management where it wasn't there before, so it's an improvement.
Yeah.
In this case, that works. And redevelopment's not always the case because it's required. I mean, riverfront redevelopment, because it's required, so you can't double dip on that. But this one makes more sense.
Interesting.
Yeah, like incorporating environmentally sensitive design and low impact development. So they talk about where those are. They have a credit system too. All right, so that one was a little new to me. When you're talking about low impact design and environmentally sensitive, they have it somewhere in here. I don't know exactly where it was because I didn't focus on it. There's like a credit system that they can use to demonstrate that they are using some of these design components. And through that, you go through and you can learn really what they're all about.
Yeah.
There's so much in here. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can find it. What number was this?
Do you know if, did you say it was Beals and Thomas that presented that?
They did.
do you know if they've done it for commissions also?
I don't know. I can ask. I don't know if they've done it for commissions, but they did it for conservation agents.
Okay.
That's the presentation I went to. So in volume 3, chapter 1, page 42, they start talking about low impact development design credits. And it's just sort of like giving you an idea of what they're looking for. So for instance, redirecting rooftop runoff to a pervious surface, right? That would be, you know, a natural landscaped area. And they look at that as a credit. So in essence, an improvement. So different things that you can, if they can't do one thing, they could maybe try something else. And that's an example. There is a redevelopment checklist. That's in volume 2, chapter 3. Talks about a lot of things we should probably look at. They've made all reasonable efforts to meet the requirements. They've made a complete evaluation of all possible management measures. If they're not in full compliance with standard 1, then they're implementing the highest level of stormwater management. So some other pieces, you know, interestingly enough, and I think I may have mentioned this to a few of you, but if you look at standard number 1, we all talk about no untreated discharges, no new untreated discharges, but there's actually a second half of that sentence which talks about or discharges that cause erosion. And I don't think I've ever had anyone talk about that.
No, I don't think so either.
It's literally the second half of that sentence. If you go to number 1, and so let me go back to the explanation of standards under number 1. So number 1 says no new stormwater conveyances may discharge untreated stormwater directly to or cause erosion in wetlands or waters of the Commonwealth. And so in volume 1, chapter 1, around page 5, it talks about the second half. And I swear I don't remember anyone ever talking about this. But and maybe it's inherent in some of the projects, so we don't actually have to discuss it because it's sort of all built in, and that very well could be. But it says the requirement that stormwater discharges must not cause erosion in wetlands means that there must be no wearing away of the soil or land surface in excess of natural conditions. To prevent this, BMPs and associated pipes and conveyances must be properly designed and installed in accordance with volume 2 handbook. The use of level spreaders or other techniques at the point of discharge is required to minimize erosion. I don't remember ever reading that before.
And we've almost always had level spreaders
Yep.
presented.
It might, like I said, it might just be inherent in your review and we don't realize that we are picking up on some of these things, but I'm not sure that every discharge has a level spreader.
Yeah, sometimes we have rip wrap, you know, around the discharge area.
Right.
Some of them are head walls though.
Yeah.
Where is it? For projects under the Wetland Protection Act, the applicant shall demonstrate to the commission that the discharge velocities will not cause erosion or scouring at the point of discharge. So, I mean, you guys look at, they give you the rate of discharge because you have to comply by not increasing the rate, but there needs to be some sort of conclusion drawn between the rate at the end of the pipe and ensuring that that is not going to cause scouring.
Yeah, but we've never had a problem with that. They put like 6-inch stone at the end of these things there.
Yeah, and that very well may be,
That's probably why we never
never talked about it.
It was always there.
And it very well could be. I just know that I've never looked for it specifically.
Yeah.
Like I said, it just might be something that we're picking up on anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's good to hear it though, because it makes you think you need to go back over the whole thing.
It does, doesn't it? I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even better, the suggestion Rebecca had to have a presentation that'll kind of highlight, you know, maybe some of these things that get overlooked.
Yeah.
And give us something to keep that's condensed, you know.
Yep. And you can ask questions.
Yeah.
like, if we run across something like this, or what does that mean, or how does this apply, or because we don't get a lot of guidance on that, right?
Right.
So lastly, I'll just say, and again, if you guys want me to like print any of this stuff out so you have it, and you don't want to do that at home, just let me know, because it's quite a bit. I have a whole binder on it. But like one of the other things too is each of these BMPs talk about some of their limitations. And I think that's good to consider. Like even some of them talk about the size, like it has to be the bottom of the basin has to be the certain size. And that's probably what Bill's looking at, to be honest with you. But just for you guys to understand where all that stuff is. And then, so each one of the BMPs has like a table that says ability to meet specific standards. This came up in one of we're no longer reviewing this project. It is in front of DEP, but one of the comments from DEP was talking about that a subsurface infiltration system does not attenuate peak flow. And I remember being like, okay, wait a minute, what did we miss? So, and then again, these are just things for us to pick up on, like, so subsurface infiltration doesn't peak flow, but subsurface detention does. So there's some nuances in there.
I know you.
Each
okay.
talks about higher pollutant loads too, whether it's applicable or not. Some of them give setback distances. That's pretty important. Again, things I don't know if so when we see BMPs, we should probably jump to this chapter, whatever they say, and then look at how if it's applicable, what are our planning considerations, and what are the setback requirements, and just ensure that they're meeting them. There's a lot of stuff. Like drainage channels provides no peak flow attenuation, provides negligible groundwater, gets 0 TSS removal. I mean, you might know this already, but I'm just saying it has very limited applicability for redevelopment. It talks about the advantages and disadvantages. Talks about how they should design them, what the maintenance is, where they should be located, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, let's see if we can get that presentation.
Sounds good to me.
You got anything else, Rebecca?
Oh, I think that's enough.
Becca, I'll ask around in my office to see if there's any kind of off-the-shelf presentation from
That'd be great.
water folks.
Yeah, I do think interactive where we could ask specific yet general questions.
No, I agree. I just want to get as much possible for myself, at least. I want to get as much possible.
Yeah, and anything that you learn, please share.
Judy, do you have anything for us?
Nope, thank you.
Wow.
Oh, thank you.
Do you guys all have these? This whole handbook?
I do.
I think I do.
Okay. It's all in that link that I gave you, each chapter, but I said if any of you guys, I mean, that's nice because you can do a search on a word, like you can search roof runoff and all of the documents and see where it comes up. But if you want a print of it, because you find that easier to read, just let me know, because I know it's a lot of pages, so I can print it. You guys can just email me if you want that.
I want the Cliff Note presentation that you got.
Oh, I can.
Agreed.
I think I may have that. I don't. Yeah, I do have that. I'll send you guys that presentation.
That'd be great.
Yes.
Then we can actually determine whether we want somebody to present it to us. if you actually have it.
Yeah,
may
we've
not
already
need
looked
that.
at it, we may not need it.
I think it's bulleted. I think you might need it.
There could be a lot of questions that, yeah,
I went to the presentation and I still have more questions.
yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks,
so
Peter.
would anybody have anything else?
No.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Sure.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Peter,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
and I'll also vote yes. All right, good night,
Good
everybody.
night, all.